Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar and a series of webinars that we continue to do and plan to continue to do at Precision Roll Grinders. We hope you're all continuing to stay safe as we unfortunately continue to work through all the COVID-19 issues with our businesses. We would encourage you to reach out to us even in this kind of virtual environment. There's a lot that we can do together, but today's webinar is titled "Your Roll Grinding and Services Provider Should Be a Trusted Advisor." And we wanted to take some time to talk with you about what a trusted advisor is, what it means, specifically with respect to your roll services and grinding provider. So what does being a trusted advisor mean? A trusted advisor ensures outcomes for their customers and manages actions for their success. Um, the reason that's important is, we've mentioned this in prior webinars, but it's critical to look at roll grinding and roll services as an investment in your operation and an investment in your company. Quite often it's just viewed as a maintenance cost, and it really shouldn't be, because properly ground and properly serviced rolls should really be returning an investment for you, and quite frankly, returning an investment for you very quickly. So how do you build a trusted advisor? Those people have the training, the knowledge, and are subject matter experts uh, to be trusted by you, the client, with respect to roll grinding and services. And really, at the end of the day, a trusted advisor provides real economic value to you, to your machines, to your operation, and to your company. So I want to back up just a second to subject matter expert. Um, what is subject matter expertise? It's specialization. It's not general equipment knowledge, it's specific role knowledge. So quite often, the folks that are doing your roll grinding are just general machine shops or general equipment manufacturers and service providers. Um, in a lot of cases, the original equipment manufacturer for your rolls are not roll experts. They're machinery experts. So we would ask you to keep that in mind, that you're looking for somebody that is doing your roll grinding and servicing that's a specialist in that area. It's practical application. It's someone, I'm sorry, that has been there and done that. And I know that phrase is overused, but it really reigns true. That how many years have you been doing this? You want somebody that has seen enough to know how to drive that economic value for you, knows how to manage for your success with respect to role applications, and value driven. Um, this is what's most important, and why I was mentioning earlier that uh, we would encourage you to work with your roll grinding and service provider to say, what value are you bringing? What economic benefit is there to doing this? That this is viewed as an investment. It's not viewed as a cost. All those things roll into this subject matter expertise. And it's not only subject matter expertise on rolls, roll grinding, roll services, but it's also some subject matter expertise in your process. So again, encourage you to ask your roll service provider, well, how many years experience do you have in the paper industry? How many years of experience do you have in rubber calendaring, in plastic film manufacture, in chocolate refining? Wherever your industry may fall, you should be looking for that in your roll service provider, um, because they really should be a trusted advisor at the end of the day. Just speaking from my own experience, I've had the opportunity to be a superintendent, production manager in paper mills. There's 1,000 things on those folks' plate. There's 1,000 things on your plate. You really ought to be able to reach out to your roll service provider as a trusted advisor in that respect. And I'll emphasize again, and I'll do it a bunch of times throughout the webinar, trusted advisor at the end needs to mean return on investment for you. So what drives that return on investment? Well, it's a value-driven approach that a trusted advisor takes. It's a promise to provide real value. And it's not just spoken value, it's statistically validated value in your process, on your machine, in your operation. It's sitting down with you and doing a joint design of experiment that says, hey, we've got this variability, we need to shrink that variability, and if we reduce that variability, we're going to be able to shift our process to do this. Either run faster, throw less product away for off quality, have fewer web breaks, start up faster. There are a myriad of ways that value can be provided. And again, ask your roll service provider where those are. If you grind a roll to 2 10,000ths roundness tolerance as opposed to 8 10,000ths roundness tolerance, what can I expect with respect to roll life, with respect to improved quality and maintained quality over a longer period of time? How much does it cost me to pull those rolls out and have them ground? How much does it, work through those calculations with your roll service provider? Because quite often, when it's just viewed as a maintenance cost, golly, I don't want to pay an extra $5,000 for a grind or for this maintenance to be done. However, we may be stepping over $50,000 because of that in return on investment. So it all starts with identifying where the efficiency gap is, developing a joint design of experiment to take a look at that, gathering the data throughout that experiment and analyzing it, improving the process, and then analysis on the improved process. And for those of you on the call that are familiar with Six Sigma approach, black belt approach, this is it. It's the DMAIC approach of design, measure, analyze, improve, and control. We have at Precision Roll Grinders an application engineering group that works with our account managers in collaboration to bring that kind of rigor to your operation. So again, we encourage you not just to look at your roll grinding and service provider as a maintenance cost, but really as a return on investment for your machines, your operations, and your facilities. So what matters? Let's get down to the nitty-gritty a little bit on what matters with respect to roll grinding in particular and roll services. Well, first it's pre-grinds. If there's any kind of cover, surface finish, or sprayed on surfaces, anything along those lines, chrome, and it's grinds for proper tolerances and shape. At the end of the day, we know that the majority of folks that are out there that are regrinding rolls and that are maintaining rolls are doing so because it's critical for their operation. If a roll is just, supporting a conveyor belt somewhere, it runs until there's either a bearing problem or you see something cracked or something along those lines. That's not necessarily what we're talking about. What we're talking about is a sheet of paper, a film of chocolate that's being refined, of a web of plastic being produced, a web of rubber being produced. All these things require critical roll shape and roll tolerances. And one of the favorite phrases of mine is hundreds of thousands of dollars can come down to tens of thousands of an inch. It really can. When you're talking about material savings because you're having to run an overall on average heavier or use more material to compensate for areas that are low in a profile, let's say in the cross direction of your machine. It means that you're having to take rolls out every 6 months because you're starting to mark the product that you're making, or you're seeing barring begin to crop up in rolls and those sorts of things. It's also maintaining the surface and optical properties you need to produce high quality product. Very critical in some plastic film manufacturing and metals manufacturing. It's also critical in the paper industry, where the print requirements are becoming more and more stringent over time. And again, it ends with a value shown through the difference in quality of those rolls being ground and those rolls being serviced. It has to end up in dollar signs. So we'll talk even a little bit more specifically, reducing variation, roll roundness matters. If you look at the left, a lot of times people say, well, I don't need that kind of tolerance on my roll. Well, think of the washboarding effect on a country road, a country dirt road. It starts very, very slight, but because it has started, it now grows. And, you know, by springtime, it's an absolute washboard. Well, the same goes through with any kind of rotating equipment that is in your machine and in your operation. You want to start as close to perfectly round as possible that makes economic sense. And again, work with your roll grinding provider to determine that. There are spreadsheets that we use that are industry specific, and some of them are general that we like to sit down with our customers and walk through that to say, here's, you know, we don't want to do work that's not going to provide you real economic value. And again, we would encourage you to make sure that you're looking for that from your roll grinding and service provider. So on the left hand side, even though it's slight, that was a roll that was ground by brand X, and virtually what you've done is put a cam in your machine, and then now it's inducing that wear in your machine in the roll that is running against it and that sort of thing, as opposed to on the right hand side taking a look at that roll that's going in almost perfectly round, that is going to run much longer, to the tune of 2 to 2.5 times to 3 times. It depends on the application that we've seen in practice in the industry. I love this pictorial on the bottom left-hand side here. That's nip impression paper, but it was run through a nip, and you can see the barring. That's that cam effect that we're talking about. It may not be visible in your product, but it's in your product. And what you're seeing there in the middle is, you know, a variation of 5 to 10 microns in this case, and this is a real world case, cause strength variation of 20%. So, you know, mystery web breaks that you're having either, you know, at the end of a paper machine, in plastic film manufacturer, you know, whatever type of product that you're making, perhaps it's coming from something like this. So reach out to a roll service provider that has the horsepower to help you analyze that. That's what being a trusted advisor is, that someone knows what's been done to that roll so well and has taken the time to understand your process well enough to really link the two together to prove economic value, to prove that return on investment over time. So there are a number of ways that this can be measured. Again, ensure that your roll service provider is doing that for you. Roll shape matters. That top bullet, our marketing firm caught it. I didn't. It should actually say increased material usage due to a thicker wavy sheet. You know, a lot of times there's a minimum to what you're producing, and if you don't have a profile in your machine that is proper due to improper roll shape, then you're having to run more raw material to ensure that you're meeting those minimum low areas. That's true. I've seen it in paper mills. I've seen it in rubber calendars. We've seen it in plastic film manufacture. A lot of coating applications, and coating applications can get very, very expensive very fast, where you're having to put more on to compensate for something that is incorrect in the rolls that are running together that are producing that product. And that's the localized thinning that we're talking about there. And lastly, it's improved end product construction. Quite often, the folks that Precision Roll Grinders works with are making the product that goes onto a converter that and gets made into a carton, a box, you know, a tire, a number of a pool liner, a number of different products, and the print on the end product, the construction and the strength of the end product is critical. So you know, those returns or those complaints, if you will, that you're getting back from your internal or external customers may indeed relate back to something on your machine that's not right, and quite often we see that it's rolls. In a continuous process, the stuff that's round and rotating is absolutely critical, and for some reason we tend not to give it the importance that it perhaps should have. So this is just a visual. This is real life data to protect the company in the non-disclosure agreements. It's obviously, we don't tell you what kind of material it is or who it is, and we do take those non-disclosure agreements very, very seriously. But this is this was what the average profile of this product looked like prior to grinding the rolls to proper roundness and shape, and then this is what it looked like afterwards. It's not perfect, but it's vastly improved, and this allows you the ability to shift whatever it is in your process that ends up allowing you to run faster, to run with less quality, uh, off quality product, I should say, allows you to run more moisture or water in the product as opposed to raw material, a number of things that really spool up quickly with respect to how much money it can save. This is an area of geometric tolerance that I'd like to speak about because quite often it's not spoken about, and that's roll concentricity. If you're constantly grinding a roll in bearings or in place, you don't know that the center line of the journal of that roll is concentric with the face of that roll all the way around. And as a matter of fact, in many cases, if you're grinding in place or you take it out and grind within the bearings, you're magnifying a problem that already exists because of the play in the bearings and the play in the machine if you're doing it in place. So it's really important that, again, going back to the cam analogy, that you're concentric on that roll as well. You can't eliminate the kind of barring or cam motion. You can't eliminate, or you can't obtain proper shape without first doing this. And I've had customers tell me over the years, well, that's overkill. I don't need that. You know, it runs in the bearings. It should be ground in the bearings. So that's not correct. Again, you can get twice the life out of a roll if you take care of all the geometric tolerances, concentricity being one of them. Ask your roll service provider, you know, how good do they have to be? This is an example of some of the tolerances. Those are in microns. The finish, I believe, is in RA. It's, you know, pardon me, very tight finishes, very tight tolerances. Our typical tolerance is 5 microns. Our typical tolerance is 2/10,000ths of an inch of precision roll grinders. So that gives us a wide window of ability. Surface finish is pardon me again, is very tight in much of the work that we do. So just kind of a reminder to see how good your roll service provider can be. Ask them that question. And then a little bit about roll life and startup. Mechanical excellence is part of a full trusted advisor roll services provider as well. It's not just grinding it for roundness, shape, and concentricity. So make sure that your roll service provider is a trusted maintenance provider as well. Inspections of bearings and housings, journal replacement. These things can have a big impact on quick startup and long life. So again, the roll life and startup. This is an example that I've been mentioning a few times. a roll starting at 2/10,000ths tolerance and a roll starting at 8/10,000ths tolerance, and it's 2.5 times the life. And again, it's because the deformation of a piece of your rotating equipment is a function of, I'm sorry, the wear of a piece of your rotating equipment is a function of the deformation. So if you're already starting at a deformation that takes a tighter grind 6 months to reach, it's and it's not a linear curve, it's an exponential difference. So I keep that in mind when you're considering the tolerances that you're working with your trusted advisor role provider for. And then we got to talk a little bit about the world we currently live in. So how can you be a trusted advisor in a virtual world? We're so accustomed to meeting customers, and you're accustomed to having your service provider and grinding providers meet you. Well, we've developed standard operating procedures around collecting data, even when it involves collecting part of what you produce to test. If you're interested in that, please reach out to us. We do the statistical analysis. We provide that horsepower for you to, again, be that trusted advisor, and at the end of the day, provide real economic value. So it's data analysis, sampling and testing, statistical validation that leads to real benefits, virtual troubleshooting through pictures or video, depending on what you're willing to share with us. Again, being a trusted advisor, I feel confident saying Precision Roll Grinders has that experience, has the practical knowledge, has the technical knowledge, has the years in these processes, because we're specialists. We do rolls. We're not building entire machines. So something else just to keep in mind in this virtual world. So just to kind of go back through everything, we're at 20 minutes, and then we like to keep those to that length of time to allow for some questions. Trusted advisor means you ensure outcomes for your customer. You manage actions for their success, and it involves the training, the knowledge, the subject matter expertise. It's got to result in return on investment. So we encourage you to think of it not as a maintenance cost, but as a return, almost like a capital project. Each time you do this, that you should expect a return on investment from your roll grinding and services. And you should be able to call your provider a trusted advisor. And this is an example of show me the money. Where can I see the benefit? And again, this is done in conjunction. We can provide these templates. We understand that there's information you cannot share with us or any roll service provider, but you can plug it in yourselves and really look at where the economic benefit lie. Again, trusted advisors provide value. You should be able to ask them for case studies. Where have you done this before? How much did it mean to a similar process, to a similar customer? And again, economic value, not just a maintenance cost. So with that, that's our webinar today on why your roll service provider should be a trusted advisor. The trusted advisor has the experience, has the technical knowledge, has the subject matter expertise, but more importantly, drives for your value benefit, for your economic value benefit. This page shows where you can contact us. We would encourage you to do so, keeping in mind that we are equipped to work with you in a virtual world. And with that, what I will do is unmute everybody. If you want to ask a question, you can also use the chat function within the webinar if you have any questions, and I'd be happy to answer those. Let me just make sure I've done that. Okay. So there's one question. How long do these studies generally take? That's a really good question. It depends on what we're studying, right? Over the length of a full run of a roll before it has to be reground or reserviced. Sometimes it can take 6 months or a year. We're willing to do that. We've been a privately held company for 50 years. We intend to do it for at least another 50 years. So, and again, uh, there's an application engineering group within Precision Roll Grinders whose sole purpose is to do that with our customers, and our account managers are well equipped to do that as well. So anywhere I've seen studies that take a few weeks, or a week actually, in the case of some, where we're going to study it for 3 days and grab a lot of samples prior to a roll change the roll, study it for 3 days afterwards, and that gives you an initial capsule of what's going on, what improvements have happened that we can translate with you into economic benefit, and then come back and look at it a month, 3 months, 6 months, a year down the road to make sure that all those are being maintained. Any other questions? There's another one about international. Yes, we actually are an international company. We do business in South America and the Asia Pacific area, um, to our neighbors to the north, quite a bit, into Mexico, and we've got partners around the world. We have a very strong partnership in Europe, so that provides cast rolls as well. So any roll service, any new role, anything like that, we're willing to work with you and have the ability to do so, and have for a number of years in all those respects. Here's another question. Thank you. What is the cost for bringing in your company's experts to help with issues we are having? None. This is the application engineering services, the account managers, who some of which are professional engineers, all of which have years and years of industry experience, is something that Precision Roll Grinders provides you. We want your business, and I'm not. I usually don't say that in these webinars, but because we really do just want to inform through these webinars on what you ought to be looking at, because we are subject matter experts. We do rolls and just rolls. But those services are at no charge. We just ask you to really work with us on developing an experiment where it makes sense and taking a look at how that economic value can be provided. Thank you. That's another good question. Anything else, folks? Well, if not, we wish you a great remainder of your day, and next week we're going to have another webinar next week. If anybody's interested, it's specific to the paper industry, but it'll be next Thursday at 2 o'clock. You can always check our website. It's got the series of webinars we've done. If you want to go back and look at some others that are more specific to your business. Once again, we thank you for your time and look forward to talking to you soon. Goodbye.